The protein bar in my hand was stale as hell, but I chewed through it anyway while the fourth Zoom of the morning connected. It wasn't even 6:30 yet. My kitchen still smelled like burnt coffee from the pot I forgot to clean last night. Didn't matter. I'd been up since 4 chasing down a regional logistics failure that would have tanked our quarterly SLA if I hadn't caught it. That was normal now. My name's Carl. I'm 43 years old, live just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been the backbone of one of our biggest enterprise contracts for 5 straight years. Crisis after crisis, I kept the lights on. Fixed the unfixable. Back when the founder was still around, he used to call me the last safety net. Said if Carl didn't catch it, no one would. That was back when execution meant something. Now, all anyone cares about is how loud your pitch deck sings on a 30-minute call. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? I watch new hires pitch transformation strategy like they invented duct tape, while I handled actual escalations from billion-dollar clients. Miss one deadline, you're a liability. Save their ass from $1 million outage, they forget by lunch. But I didn't complain. That's not my style. I documented, quietly, thoroughly. Half the people presenting in meetings didn't even know where our infrastructure logs lived. They couldn't point to a root cause on a map, but they knew how to sell vibes. They polished their slide transitions while I talked to tech leads at 2 a.m. I held together 12 regions and 3 verticals under budget. Got 0 shoutouts. Not even a thanks in Slack. There was one call, maybe 2 years back, where the founder told the board I was the only reason that client hadn't sued. That was the last time I heard my name in a public forum. Now, I wasn't even sure the new execs knew what I looked like. They pulled me from client-facing channels to streamline communication, shifted meetings off my calendar, pushed updates I'd written under someone else's name. I kept screenshots, audit trails, my version of a diary. I didn't need applause, I needed leverage, and I had it. They just didn't know yet. That morning, I finished the call, closed my laptop, and stared at the wall. Then I opened my private backup folder and started reading a document I hadn't touched in almost 3 years. The contract. The original one. I found my clause in less than 60 seconds. Then I made coffee. 2 days later in the present day, after years of holding things together, he showed up. Chase. VP of Operations, fresh out of some overhyped MBA mill, not a wrinkle on his blazer, not a day of field time under his shiny belt. I knew the type before he even opened his mouth. The founder had a golf buddy, the golf buddy had a son, and now we had a clown in a fitted jacket, acting like he invented systems that had been running since he was in college. First meeting, he walked into the conference room, well, the Zoom, nodded at me and asked if I could take notes. I didn't blink, just unmuted and said, "Sure. I'll take notes on your first production outage. Should be soon." He laughed like I was joking. By the end of week 1, I wasn't in any of the ops syncs anymore. My standing client review meetings, gone. No explanation. Just vanished from my calendar like I'd been ghosted. I pinged my director. "Oh, Chase is streamlining reporting lines. Nothing to worry about." Right. Then the updates started rolling out. Half-baked templates, buzzword bingo. A new dashboard that looked good on mobile, but buried every meaningful SLA metric. I recognized the data. It was mine. My logs, my models, my escalation flow. But my name? Gone. Scrubbed clean, like I'd never touched a thing. I forwarded myself every copy, time-stamped it, labeled the folder, clown show. Week 2, Chase dropped a bomb in the all-company Slack thread. Some of our systems are still running on legacy clutter. We're cleaning house. No tag, no names, just tossed it in there like it wasn't a direct shot. Half the org clapped back with flame emojis and gifs of bulldozers. Real original. I didn't reply, I just added the screenshot to the folder. Labeled that one, Slack Shade. People bought into him fast. He talked fast, smiled wide, threw around phrases like frictionless vertical alignment and operational velocity like they meant something. The execs loved him. Called him a fresh set of eyes, said he was re-energizing the org. Meanwhile, we missed our internal failover test for the first time in 9 quarters because Chase pushed a deploy window over my objections. I flagged it in the ops channel. He said, "Let's take it offline." We never did. I started keeping notes after every incident, every time he overrode a check, every time he ignored a flag, every time I said, "This won't scale," and he said, "We'll iterate later." One night, close to midnight, I caught a metrics alert that he'd silenced, buried a whole region outage under scheduled optimization. That one almost cost us a compliance audit. Still, I didn't raise hell. Not yet. I just copied the alert thread into a PDF and moved it to the folder, labeled it Burial Attempt Number 3. He thought I was checked out, that I'd given up. And honestly, I let him think that. There's power in being ignored, especially when you're the only one who knows where the bodies are buried. 3 weeks in, I bumped into him in the hallway. He gave me a grin like we were teammates or something. Said, "Carl, appreciate the groundwork you've done. We'll try to preserve some of it as we evolve." I smiled right back and said, "Be sure to read all the old documentation before you start yanking wires. Some of them bite." He laughed again. I didn't. Back at my desk, I opened the shared drive and checked the admin audit logs. Chase had just overridden access on a handful of client folders, mine included. I flagged the log, added it to the growing document stack, labeled it Tampering Begins. He was poking at things he didn't understand, breaking systems he couldn't even define. But I wasn't going to stop him. Not yet. By week 5, my access to the client dashboard was gone, no heads up, no explanation, just revoked. I tried to log in for a Monday morning prep call and boom, permission denied. I refreshed, tried the admin panel, locked out there too. The client hadn't requested it. I sent him a message. Access dropped, need it reinstated for this morning's QBR prep. He replied 15 minutes later, "No need, we're consolidating access. Offshore team will handle it going forward." I called him directly. First and only time I ever called him. "Hey, quick question. Did we clear this access change with legal?" His voice was casual, like he was booking a haircut. "Legal works for us. It's fine. The client will sign off. Trust me." I didn't trust him. I didn't say that. I just asked, "You sure about this?" That contract has very specific language around continuity and lead ownership. This move could trigger a walk clause. He chuckled. "You're overthinking it? This is about scale. We're growing past manual touch points. These clients want automation, not babysitting." "Not this one," I said, "and not with that clause in place." He didn't even ask which clause. Instead, he said, "We've got coverage. You're not the only adult in the room." I didn't argue, just hung up, opened the contract PDF again, and highlighted clause 64B. I'd helped write it. Tanya from the client side, and I had spent 2 weeks hammering that thing out during the peak of pandemic chaos. It wasn't vague. If I resigned voluntarily, they could walk. Immediately, no penalty, no delays. I saved the file again, just in case. 2 days later, we had the quarterly all-hands Zoom. Full staff, board, execs. It was supposed to be a routine metrics presentation. My part was at the halfway mark. I'd kept the core contract stable. Even with Chase spinning the ship like a drunk DJ, the graphs were clean, performance steady. We hadn't missed a single SLA, not one. I shared my screen. "All right, this is the past 90-day incident resolution curve. You'll notice..." That's when it happened. Chase cut in, voice booming like he'd been waiting for it. "Thanks, Carl. Actually, we're pivoting roles on this project." I stopped mid-sentence. My cursor froze on the graph. Chase kept talking, all PR gloss tone. "As of this week, Carl will be transitioning out of direct involvement. We've brought in a dedicated offshore team to take over." Then, click, he muted my mic. In front of 130 staff, the board, the general counsel, muted me. My camera was still on. People saw my face. I didn't flinch. I didn't unmute. Didn't raise my hand. Didn't type a damn word in the chat. I just closed my laptop. Sat there in the kitchen, same chair, same half-dead plant on the windowsill, and let the silence roll. The general counsel, Ben, didn't say a word during the meeting. But right before logging off, he pulled out a pen and wrote something down. That's all I needed. Later that afternoon, I opened the original 2020 contract again. Scanned every line like it was gospel. Clause 64B still held. If the named escalation lead resigns voluntarily, the client may terminate the agreement in full without penalty. Named escalation lead. Me. No approval, no wiggle room, no spin. Then I logged out. I didn't tell anyone what I was planning. Didn't warn Chase, didn't warn legal, didn't even warn Tanya from the client side. I'd held this company's mess together for 5 years. I'd eaten more garbage than any exec in that building even knew existed. And now I'd been muted, like I didn't matter. Like I was legacy clutter. I watched the upload finish, closed the browser, then I shut my laptop and took the rest of the day off. Back in 2020, everything was on fire. Tanya was the head of risk on the client side. Sharp, blunt, didn't waste time. We'd never met in person. Didn't need to. We both ran hot and fast on caffeine and deadlines. She called me at 7 in the morning on a Tuesday and said, "We need a name, not a department, a name, someone who owns this end to end." I didn't even hesitate. "Make it me." She paused. "You sure? If it breaks, I'll fix it." We spent 9 straight days rewriting the master service agreement. Emails, Zooms, late-night edits. Clause 6.4b was born from that stretch. Her legal team called it a continuity safeguard. Ours barely read it. Didn't matter. I made sure it stayed in, word for word. The clause named me directly. Resignation meant the client could walk. They needed someone to own it, and I did. Every minute since. A couple hours later, HR pinged me. "Hey Carl, could we pull you in for a quick sync to a line on transition planning?" No subject line, no explanation, just a calendar invite. I walked into the room with nothing but a pen. 3 of them were there. HR, someone from People Ops, and Chase, sitting like a high schooler who just learned what synergy meant. The HR lead smiled like we were old friends. "We're just here to support you through this next chapter. Make sure we're all aligned." I cut her off. "Am I being let go?" She blinked, glanced at Chase. He opened his mouth, then shut it. "No," she said. "There's no termination in progress." I nodded. "All right." I stood up and left. Didn't even take the water bottle I brought in. Back at my desk, I sent one message to my team. "Don't forward anything to personal email." No other context. The message hit harder than I expected. Within an hour, the group chat lit up. "Are you leaving? Is something going down? Was that about Chase?" I didn't reply to any of it. Just watched. The next morning, legal viewed the file. I got the ping. Shared folder log showed 4 names. 2 from compliance, 1 from general counsel, 1 unknown. File opened 5 times. Exported twice. I refreshed the log every half hour. By lunch, the count hit double digits. Ben, the GC, pulled it up 3 times in a row. He didn't message me. He didn't need to. By mid-afternoon, you could feel the shift. Directors started whispering. A Slack thread about updated client engagement terms was suddenly deleted. One of the product leads asked if anyone had the original MSA. No one answered. I just sipped my coffee. The next day, Chase pushed another system update announcement. Loud as always. Full of acronyms. He was still playing offense, but the tone was different. A little more careful. Less teeth, more hedging. I saw the fear creeping in. He hadn't read the clause. He still didn't get it, but others did. Legal wasn't stupid. They knew a ticking time bomb when they saw one. Someone even commented privately on the file. "Need confirmation this clause is still valid." I didn't respond. Let them find out the hard way. My role had been erased from the day-to-day, but they'd forgotten I helped build the foundation. I wasn't just the guy who held the line. I was the clause. The contract had my name in ink. The silence from leadership told me they'd finally realized what they'd done. They couldn't fire me, but I could walk. And if I did, everything burned. The night before the all-hands, I stayed late, not working, just cleaning. Every drawer in my cubicle was stacked with years of Band-Aid fixes and old Post-its, scribbled notes from outages, last-minute saves, client call numbers I could dial in my sleep. I threw most of it in the bin. The office was dead quiet except for the hum of the vending machine down the hall. I wasn't nervous, just ready. I wiped the desk, unplugged my headset, and slid my badge into a small envelope. On the front, I wrote one line in Sharpie, effective 9:01 a.m. Then I went home. That morning, I brewed coffee slow. Same mug, same brand, same ritual. The meeting invite popped up at 8:55 sharp. Quarterly alignment, all staff, hosted by Chase Weller, attendance mandatory. 140 people on the list, board included. I joined at 8:58, camera off, mic muted. My Zoom background was already set. Black screen, white letters across the center. Effective 9:01 a.m. The company logo flickered behind Chase's smile. He was in full pitch mode, loud, confident, running off his script about synergy and velocity, same corporate noise he'd been peddling for months. "Today marks a new chapter," he said. "We're optimizing delivery across regions, moving faster, smarter, more agile." He loved that word. Agile. Meant nothing to him, but it sounded expensive. I waited. Watch the seconds crawl. 8:59. 9, will you? He started a new slide deck. These changes ensure continuity for all our major contracts, especially enterprise risk, our crown jewel. That was my cue. At exactly 9:01, I turned my camera on. For a second, nobody noticed. Just another face popping into a grid of squares. Then, the background caught their eyes. The bold text behind me, effective 9:01 a.m. Silence spread across the meeting like a fuse. I didn't say a word. I just lifted my badge in one hand, resignation letter in the other, signed, dated, timestamp visible on camera. My name, my signature, my time. Clear as daylight. No smirk, no speech. Just held it steady. Someone on the board unmuted, then muted again. Legal's square shifted. I saw Ben lean closer to his screen. He was reading the timestamp. Chase kept smiling for another second, confused, like he thought it was a joke. Then his grin cracked. "Carl, we can discuss this offline," he stammered. "You don't need to—" I didn't move, didn't answer, didn't blink. His voice faltered. "Carl, this isn't the right forum for—" Still nothing from me, just silence. You could feel the panic start to build. The chat window exploded on the side. Questions, pings, reactions. Someone typed, "Wait, is this official?" Ben's camera flickered again. He was talking to someone off screen now, lips tight, expression unreadable. The founder's square stayed dark. No camera, no voice. Just a black box labeled A, R. Founder. Chase tried to keep control. "Everyone, let's move forward with the agenda." But his voice was thinner now, cracked at the edges. The board's faces told the story for him. Shock, then realization, then that quiet, focused dread only lawyers get when they see money vaporizing. Clause 6.4b. It was already active. They just didn't know it yet. I lowered my hands, placed both items on the desk, badge and letter, side by side. Then I clicked the Zoom menu. End meeting for me. The screen went black. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and walked straight out of the building. Didn't look back at my desk, didn't check messages, didn't take the laptop. Just left. The fall air hit hard as I stepped outside. Cold, clean, still. The parking lot was half empty. I tossed the envelope on the front seat of my car and sat for a moment, watching the sunlight crawl up the side of the office building. 9:03 a.m. Somewhere inside, the panic would already be spreading. Legal calls, contract reviews, Slack threads lighting up like flares. I started the car, clause activated. By the next morning, they had 22 hours left on the bomb timer. At 7:12 a.m., the official termination notice came in. Formal PDF, signed, delivered straight from the client's general counsel. Subject line, exercise of clause 6.4b. The message was 5 sentences long, clean, clinical, immediate. $14 million, gone, no discussions, no escalations, just done. The board's crisis call started 30 minutes later. I wasn't on it, obviously, but the Slack leaks came fast. One director asked flat out, "When were we made aware of the clause?" Legal responded, "It's been in every signed version since 2020. Then the logs came out. Chase had ignored at least 3 flagged warnings from compliance. Ben from legal had documented a 4th in an email with the subject line, continuity clauses, immediate attention required, dated 2 weeks earlier. Everyone missed it. Chase tried to pivot like always. "In chaos, there's opportunity," he said in one exec chat. "We'll build back stronger. This creates breathing room to realign." Nobody bought it. The board didn't want a TED Talk. They wanted answers, real ones. By noon, the investors were on the line. One of them, a guy from a hedge fund who didn't even bother with pleasantries, asked a single question. "Who owns the client relationship right now?" Chase froze, literally didn't answer. There was a 10-second pause that felt like 10 years. Somebody on the call coughed. Legal stepped in. No one. Carl resigned. That was it. The curtain ripped wide open. The Slack threads exploded. Screenshots of the resignation started bouncing around internal channels. Someone posted a clip from the Zoom, me holding up my badge, the background reading effective 9:01 a.m. It spread like a wildfire. One comment read, "This is how you detonate with style." By the end of the day, someone had made a meme. Top half, Chase talking about velocity. Bottom half, my black screen and resignation letter. Even people from other departments, marketing, HR, finance, started sending private messages to folks on my old team. "He really did it? Is that clause real? Holy shit." Meanwhile, I was at home, making lunch. Peanut butter and banana sandwich, glass of ginger ale, window open. Calm as ever. I didn't even check my phone until 2. 15 voicemails, most from unknown numbers. One was from Tanya. All she said was, "Power move. Let's talk soon." I smiled, set my phone down, and kept slicing the apple. By evening, 3 startups had already messaged me on LinkedIn. One said, "Saw the clip. We could use a guy like you." Another one just sent, "Clause 6.4b. Damn! They weren't looking for PowerPoint artists. They wanted someone who'd actually held the line, someone who didn't blink. I opened my laptop around 7, started scanning contracts from 2 of them. Real money, clean org charts, no pitch deck cowboys in sight. Back on Slack, well, their Slack, someone leaked Chase's attempt at a company-wide post-mortem. He called the contract loss a strategic reset and promised a new culture of accountability. People weren't buying that either. Somebody replied with, "Who held accountability when Carl got muted?" The message had 32 emoji reactions in the first minute. That night, I slept 8 hours straight for the first time in 6 months. By morning, the internet had the story. Some contractor out of Austin posted a screenshot to a private ops forum, my resignation. Zoom frame, the black background, badge held up. Caption said, "VP mutes ops lead live, client gone next day." That post hit 5,000 likes in 3 hours. Someone else reposted it with a thread breaking down the clause, line by line. Then came the jokes, the memes, the Slack screenshots, the Slack leaks. It wasn't just an inside joke anymore. It was a case study. By lunch, the founder's email leaked. Not internal, not passive-aggressive. Full-on scorched earth. Subject line, on accountability. First sentence, you muted the name person. You signed the exit slip with a smirk. It circled the company like blood in the water. 1 minute you were hearing whispers. Next minute the board called an emergency vote. By Friday morning, Chase was stripped of authority. No announcement, no memo. His name just vanished. Title pulled from Slack. Calendar wiped. Threads deleted mid-convo. Some intern asked where he went. The reply was a single skull emoji. The same day, legal sent out a formal statement to every active enterprise client. We have reviewed and confirmed the validity of all continuity clauses. If you have questions about escalation leads, please reach out to your engagement contact. No one missed the subtext. We let the wrong guy walk, and now we're checking every locked door before it swings open again. The M&A deal they'd been dancing around, dead. One of the buyers pulled out. The other demanded a 30-day delay and full clause review. Word inside was, the clause spooked them. If one guy could tank a contract, how many others were holding matches? Then came the freeze. Recruiting shut down. Budgets locked. Internships paused. Engineering leads started quietly resigning. 1, then 3, then 8 in 2 weeks. No notice. No rants. Just resignation letters filed. Exit interviews skipped. I was already gone. I'd taken a consulting offer from a lean dev shop outside Raleigh. No layers of BS. No corporate fog. 8 people. Solid pipeline. Real work. They asked smart questions in the interview. Nobody talked in acronyms. The CEO wore the same flannel shirt on every call and opened meetings with, "All right, let's not waste each other's time." I signed the contract the same day. A week later, a package showed up at my apartment. Small white box. No return label. Inside, flowers. Not store-bought. Hand-cut. Tied in twine. Mixed bouquet. Lavender. Eucalyptus. A single snapdragon in the middle. No sender name. Just a note. If you want to come back, we'll do it your way. No logo, no pitch, just that. I read it once, then again, quiet, calm. I didn't call, didn't reply. Just took the note and slid it into the folder where I'd kept the contract, right behind the printed copy of Clause 6.4b. My way? Too late for that, but message received. I slid the folder back into the drawer, shut it soft, and sat down at my new desk. No corner office, no nameplate. Just a screen, a keyboard, and a direct line to people who actually gave a damn about what worked. I never gave a speech, never raised my voice, didn't post some goodbye essay on LinkedIn or write a passive-aggressive farewell Slack message. Didn't need to. My exit wasn't loud. It was exact. They called it a crater, what I left behind. 14 million in revenue gone with a 1-page letter and a 30-second Zoom frame. But that wasn't what blew the hole open. It was what came after. Silence. No excuses, no recovery plan, no backup process because they never built one. They never asked how the engine ran. They just painted the hood. The new team moved fast. Sharp people, no fluff. One founder, two devs, and a product manager who didn't waste time repeating what others had already said. I had full access by day one, full trust by day two. I logged into their dashboard that afternoon to check deployment metrics. One message waited in my inbox. Thanks for saving our launch. No one else saw it, just that. No signature, no formatting, just appreciation, sent directly. I leaned back in my chair, let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. It wasn't about praise, never was, but hearing it didn't suck. I cracked my knuckles and started typing a reply. No caps lock, no long-winded reply, just the fix, laid out clean.